German Shepherd was tied beside a moving cart. What baby did? Next, it left everyone in tears. The 5-year-old boy's scream pierced through the morning marketplace like a knife. What Marcus did in the next 60 seconds would change not just one life, but expose a darkness no one saw coming. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. The vegetable cart rolled forward, its wooden wheels creaking against the cobblestones. Behind it, a German Shepherd struggled to keep pace, the rope around his neck pulling tighter with each step. His left hind leg dragged slightly, leaving a faint trail of blood on the wet pavement. The Saturday morning crowd at Riverside Market barely noticed. Just another vendor, just another dog. But Marcus noticed. The 5-year-old boy stood frozen beside his mother's flower stand, his small hands clenched into fists, tears streaming down his face before he even understood why. "Mommy," Marcus whispered, tugging at Sarah's apron. She was counting change for Mrs. Henderson, discussing the best roses for her daughter's wedding. "Mommy, the doggie is crying." "Not now, sweetheart," Sarah said gently, her attention split between her customer and the cash box. The morning rush always demanded her full focus. "Play with your trucks for a few more minutes." But Marcus couldn't look away from the German Shepherd. The dog's brown eyes met his across the crowded marketplace, and something passed between them, something that made Marcus's chest hurt like the time he fell off his bike and couldn't breathe. The dog wasn't making any sound, but Marcus heard him anyway. Not with his ears, somewhere deeper. The cart picked up speed as it turned the corner toward the market exit. The German Shepherd stumbled, his injured leg giving out. For a moment, he was dragged along the ground before finding his feet again. The few people who noticed shook their heads and looked away. Marcus's body moved before his mind caught up. He dropped his toy truck, the red fire engine his grandmother had given him last Christmas, and ran. "Marcus!" Sarah's voice shot through the crowd, but he didn't stop. His small legs pumped harder than they ever had, weaving between shoppers, ducking under tables laden with fruits and vegetables. An apple vendor cursed as Marcus knocked over a display. Oranges rolled everywhere. People jumped back, confused by the sudden chaos of a small boy racing through their peaceful morning routine. The cart was 20 feet ahead now, heading toward the main road where trucks and cars rumbled past. Marcus could see the old man driving it, weathered face, gray stubble, a faded cap pulled low over his eyes. Frank, the vendors called him. He supplied vegetables to restaurants, always complaining about costs, always grumbling about something. "Stop!" Marcus's voice cracked as he screamed. "Please stop! You're hurting him!" Frank turned, annoyed at first, then surprised to see a small child chasing his cart. He pulled the reins, bringing his old mare to a halt just before the road. The German Shepherd collapsed immediately, his sides heaving, tongue lolling out. There were raw patches where the rope had rubbed his neck bloody. "What are you doing, boy?" Frank spat tobacco juice onto the ground. "Where's your mother?" Marcus didn't answer. He dropped to his knees beside the German Shepherd, his small hands hovering over the dog's matted fur, afraid to touch him and cause more pain. Up close, he could see old scars beneath the dirt and neglect. The dog's ribs showed through his coat. One ear was torn, healed wrong, but his eyes were still soft, still kind, watching Marcus with something like hope. "Don't touch him," Frank warned, climbing down from his cart. "Dog's mean, bites." "He's not mean," Marcus said, his voice steady now despite the tears. "He's hurt. You're hurting him." A crowd began forming. Sarah pushed through, her face flushed with exertion and embarrassment. "Marcus! Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Frank. He just ran off." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw the dog, when she saw the rope, when she saw the blood. "Is this your boy?" Frank asked, irritation clear in his voice. "He needs to learn not to interfere with other people's business." "The doggie told me he's scared," Marcus said, looking up at his mother. "He told me his leg hurts so bad he wants to sleep forever." Sarah's breath caught. Not this again. Not in public. Marcus had always been different, knowing when the neighbor's cat was sick before it showed symptoms, crying the day before they found the dead birds in the backyard, refusing to enter pet stores because he said the animals were too sad. But this was different. This was specific. Dogs don't talk, boy, Frank said, but something in his voice wavered. This mutt's worthless anyway. Can't hunt, can't guard, eats more than he's worth. Taking him outside town to let him go. You mean leave him to die? An elderly woman in the crowd said. Mrs. Chen from the bakery, her arms crossed. That's what letting them go means, doesn't it? Frank's face reddened. It's my dog, my choice. He's not yours, Marcus said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the small boy. His eyes were closed, one hand finally resting gently on the German shepherd's head. His name is Rex. He had a little girl who loved him. She called him Rexy and fed him bacon when her daddy wasn't looking. The crowd murmured. Frank took a step back. The dog came to me as a stray. Half dead already. I saved him. From what? Sarah asked, finding her voice. She recognized the look on Marcus's face. The same distant expression he'd had the morning he told her that Grandma Ellen was going to fall. 3 hours later, they got the call about her hip. Frank, where did you really find this dog? Side of the road, Frank muttered, but his eyes darted away. 2 months back, like I said, half dead. Thought I could make use of him, but he's useless. Rex lifted his head slightly, looking at Marcus. The boy's tears fell onto the dog's fur. He says thank you, Marcus whispered, for not letting him die alone. The crowd pressed closer. Someone was recording with their phone. Sarah recognized the signs of a moment spiraling beyond control, but she couldn't pull Marcus away. Not when she saw the way Rex's tail gave the tiniest wag when her son touched him. How much? Marcus asked suddenly, looking up at Frank. What? How much for Rex? I want to buy him. Frank laughed, harsh and disbelieving. You? You're 5 years old. Marcus stood up, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small plastic bag, heavy with coins. His piggy bank money. 6 months of saved allowance, birthday money from Uncle Pete, quarters found under couch cushions. He'd been saving for the remote-control dinosaur at the toy store. $43.17, counted carefully each night before bed. This is all my money, Marcus said, holding it out. Please. Frank laughed harder. $40 for a dog? Even a worthless one's worth more than that. I have $10, a voice said from the crowd. Mrs. Chen stepped forward, pulling a bill from her purse. For the boy. I have 20, another voice added. The apple vendor Marcus had disrupted, his face soft now. 15 here. I can spare 30. Within minutes, the crowd had collected nearly $200. Frank stood speechless as Sarah counted the money, her hands shaking slightly. This was more than Frank would get for a healthy dog, let alone one he was planning to abandon. This is ridiculous, Frank said, but his eyes were on the money. Dog's probably dying anyway. Waste of cash. Then take it, Sarah said, holding out the bills. Take the money and give us the dog. Frank grabbed the cash, counting it quickly. Your funeral. Dog probably won't last the week. He untied the rope from his cart, tossing the end toward Marcus. Good riddance. As Frank's cart rolled away, Rex tried to stand. His legs shook, gave out. Marcus sat back down beside him, whispering something no one else could hear. The German shepherd's breathing steadied. We need to get him to a vet, Sarah said, already pulling out her phone. But she stopped when she saw Marcus's face. Her son was staring at nothing, his hand still on Rex's head, his expression distant and strange. The blue house, Marcus said softly. Rex remembers the blue house with white shutters. And Lily. He keeps thinking about Lily. Who's Lily? Sarah asked, kneeling beside her son. Marcus blinked, coming back to himself. I don't know, but Rex loves her so much it makes his chest hurt worse than his leg. The crowd began dispersing, but several people lingered, disturbed by what they had witnessed. Mrs. Chen helped Sarah fashion a makeshift stretcher from a tablecloth. Together, with the help of 3 other vendors, they carefully lifted Rex. The dog whimpered. Once, then fixed his eyes on Marcus and didn't look away. The drive to the veterinary clinic felt endless. Sarah had called ahead, and doctor. Emma Watson was waiting at the door when they arrived. She was young for a vet, maybe 30, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She took one look at Rex, and her professional calm cracked slightly. Treatment room 2 now, she said, helping wheel the stretcher inside. How long has he been in this condition? We don't know, Sarah said. We just found him. Bought him, actually. From Frank Garrison. Dr. Emma's face darkened. Frank, I should have known. She began examining Rex, her hands gentle but efficient. Marcus, is it? You can stay, but I need you to keep back while I work. He's scared of needles, Marcus said, but not if I hold his paw. Dr. Emma glanced at Sarah, who shrugged helplessly. He's intuitive with animals. That was an understatement, but how could she explain that her 5-year-old son seemed to read animals' minds? Dr. Emma studied Marcus for a moment, then nodded. Okay, you can hold his paw, but very gently. As Dr. Emma worked, she listed Rex's injuries with growing anger. Malnutrition, dehydration, infected wounds on his neck from the rope, torn ligaments in his left hind leg that never healed properly, several broken ribs, old ones, healed wrong. This dog has been abused for months, possibly longer. Frank said he found him as a stray, Sarah offered. Frank says a lot of things, Doctor, Emma replied curtly. Rex here is maybe 3 years old, purebred German shepherd. These aren't stray dog injuries. These are deliberate. Marcus hadn't let go of Rex's paw. The dog's eyes remained locked on the boy's face, barely flinching even when Doctor. Emma inserted an IV line. He says the man with the rough hands hurt him, Marcus said quietly. But that was after the dark place. Dr. Emma's hands stilled. The dark place? Marcus nodded, his eyes unfocused. Where he waited for Lily to come back. He waited so long his water bowl went dry and his food turned bad. But she didn't come. Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from her husband Tom. Where are you? Is everything okay? She stepped into the hallway to call him, trying to explain the morning's events. Tom's voice went from confused to frustrated to resigned. A dog, Sarah? We talked about this. We can't afford... You didn't see him, Tom. You didn't see Marcus with him. There's something... I can't explain it. We'll talk when I get home, Tom said, which meant he was angry but trying not to be. Just make sure Marcus is okay. When Sarah returned to the treatment room, Doctor, Emma was showing Marcus how to drip water into Rex's mouth with a syringe. The dog swallowed weakly, his tail managing another small wag. He's severely dehydrated, Doctor, Emma explained, but he's fighting. That's good, however. She pulled Sarah aside, lowering her voice. The leg injury is serious. Without surgery, he'll always limp, possibly, be in chronic pain. Surgery would cost around $3,000. And that's just the start. He needs medications, special food, physical therapy, potentially. Sarah's heart sank. $3,000 might as well have been $3 million. Tom was already going to be upset about bringing home a dog. An expensive medical situation would be impossible. I understand if you need to consider other options, Doctor, Emma said gently. Sometimes the kindest thing... No. Marcus's voice was sharp. Both women turned to see him standing, his small body trembling. You can't make Rex go to sleep forever. He already thought he was going to. And then I found him. I promised. Honey, Sarah started, but Marcus wasn't listening. He was looking at Rex, his face intense with concentration. He knows where Lily is, Marcus said. He's trying to show me, but it's fuzzy. Like a dream that's hard to remember. Dr. Emma exchanged a glance with Sarah. Has he always been like this? With animals? Sarah nodded, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming her. Since he could talk. Maybe before. We thought it was imagination, but it's specific, Doctor. Emma finished. Detailed. Accurate? Sometimes terrifyingly so. Dr. Emma was quiet for a moment, then pulled up a stool. Marcus, can you tell me more about Lily? About what Rex is showing you? Marcus closed his eyes, his hand still on Rex's paw. The room was silent except for the soft beep of monitoring equipment and Rex's labored breathing. She has yellow hair like sunshine. She reads to Rex from a book about rabbits. Her room has stars on the ceiling that glow in the dark. Marcus frowned. She's crying. Rex is trying to get to her, but there's a door, and his paws can't open it. When was this? Dr. Emma asked softly. Before the hungry time, before the dark. Rex counted the days by the light through the window. 7 lights, then 7 more, then so many he stopped counting. Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a news alert. Search continues for missing 8-year-old Lily Morrison. Family offers $50,000 reward. Her blood went cold. She showed the screen to Dr. Emma, whose eyes widened. The article was dated 3 weeks ago, but referenced the girl going missing 2 months prior. The photo showed a blonde child with a bright smile, holding a German Shepherd puppy. "Oh my God," Dr. Emma whispered. She zoomed in on the photo. Despite the puppy being younger, smaller, the markings were unmistakable. The white patch on the chest, the slightly crooked left ear. "This is Rex." Sarah's hands shook as she scrolled through the article. Lily Morrison had disappeared from her home on Oak Street, the nice part of town with the historic houses. No signs of forced entry. Her parents thought she'd run away after an argument about screen time. Police found no leads. The family dog was also missing, presumed to have run off in the confusion. "Marcus," Sarah said carefully. "The blue house Rex remembers. Can you see anything else about it?" Marcus was quiet for so long, Sarah thought he hadn't heard. Then, "There's a number on the door. 2 and 4 and 7. The garden has roses that Lily's mommy loves. Rex liked to dig in them and get in trouble." Sarah's fingers flew across her phone screen. 247 Oak Street, she breathed. Blue Victorian with white shutters. The Morrison house. Dr. Emma was already reaching for her desk phone. "We need to call the police." If Rex was there, if he somehow survived whatever happened. "He was locked in the basement," Marcus said suddenly. His voice was different, distant. "Lily's daddy put him there when he got mad. Said dogs were dirty, shouldn't be in the house. Lily snuck down at night to bring him food. But then..." Marcus's face scrunched in concentration. "Then something bad happened and nobody came anymore." "We need Detective James, Doctor," Emma said, dialing. "He handled the Morrison case. He's a friend. He'll listen." While Dr. Emma made the call, Sarah sat with Marcus and Rex. The dog's breathing had steadied somewhat with the IV fluids, but he was still dangerously weak. Marcus hadn't let go of his paw. "He's trying so hard to remember," Marcus whispered, but the hungry time made his thoughts cloudy. He knows Lily needs help, but can't remember why. Detective James arrived within 20 minutes. He was younger than Sarah expected, maybe mid-30s, with the kind of tired eyes that suggested he'd seen too much. He listened to their story with surprising patience, taking notes, asking careful questions. "You're telling me this dog belonged to Lily Morrison," he said slowly. "And your son is getting information from him?" "I know how it sounds," Sarah began, but Detective James held up a hand. 3 years ago, I would have walked out of here, but I've seen things, had cases solved by psychics, found bodies based on dreams. If there's even a chance this helps find Lily." He looked at Marcus. "What else can Rex tell you?" Marcus concentrated, his whole body tense with effort. Rex whimpered, his eyes moving rapidly under closed lids as if dreaming. "There was a man," Marcus said. "Not Lily's daddy. Someone else. He came to the house when Mommy and Daddy were at work. Lily was home sick from school." Detective James leaned forward. "Can you describe him?" Rex didn't like him. He smelled wrong, like the chemistry set Lily got for Christmas, but sharper, and sweet smoke. Rex barked and barked, but the man did something and Rex got very sleepy. "Chloroform," Detective James muttered, writing rapidly. "Or something similar. That's why there were no signs of struggle. The dog was unconscious. When Rex woke up, he was in the basement and Lily was gone," Marcus continued. He could hear people upstairs walking around talking, but nobody heard him barking. The door was locked from outside. "The Morrisons said they were at work until 6 that day," Detective James recalled. "They came home, found Lily missing, called 911 immediately. Nobody mentioned checking the basement. They didn't know Rex was there," Sarah said. "If Lily's father had locked him down there earlier as punishment." "They assumed he ran away when Lily disappeared," Detective James finished. "My God, the dog was in the basement the whole time?" Marcus nodded. "For many days. There was old water in a bucket from the leaky pipe, some bags of potatoes Lily's mommy forgot about. Rex ate them when the hungry got too bad. Then one day the basement window broke in a storm. Rex pushed and pushed until he could squeeze through, cut himself bad. But he had to find Lily. Dr. Emma had been examining Rex's scars with new understanding. These cuts on his side, They're consistent with squeezing through broken glass. How he survived that on top of starvation. He had to find Lily, Marcus repeated. That's all he thought about. Find Lily. Protect Lily. But he was so weak and confused. He walked and walked, but couldn't remember the way home. Then the mean man found him. Frank, Sarah said with disgust. He found Rex, and instead of helping him, he used him. Detective James was already on his phone. I need units at 247 Oak Street, possible evidence in the Morrison case, and pick up Frank Garrison for questioning. He turned back to Marcus. The man who took Lily. Can Rex show you anything else about him? Marcus's face went very pale. Rex is scared to remember. The man hurt Lily. Rex could hear her crying before the sleepy smell made everything dark. Where did he take her? Detective James pressed gently. Rex doesn't know, but... Marcus tilted his head, listening to something only he could hear. The man dropped something when he was carrying Lily out. Rex can see it shiny on the floor by the basement door. Like Daddy's special pen, but different. Detective James's radio crackled. Units on scene at Oak Street. The Morrisons are here, demanding to know what's going on. Tell them we might have a lead on their daughter. I'm on my way. He looked at Sarah. I need you to bring Marcus to the station. If he can really communicate with this dog, we need everything Rex knows. He's 5 years old, Sarah protested. This is traumatic. Mom, Marcus interrupted. Rex says Lily is still alive. He can feel her, like how I felt him at the market. She's scared and alone, but she's alive. The room went silent. Detective James's face was grim. If that's true, we don't have much time. Cases like this, after 2 months. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Dr. Emma spoke up. Rex needs continuous medical care. If you're taking Marcus, I'm coming too. We can set up a mobile IV in my van. Within minutes, they were loading Rex into Dr. Emma's veterinary van, Marcus refusing to leave his side. Sarah called Tom, trying to explain why she was heading to the police station with their son, a dying dog, and a veterinarian. This is insane, Tom said. You're telling me Marcus thinks this dog knows where a missing girl is? The detective believes him, Sarah said, or at least believes enough to investigate. I'm leaving work. I'll meet you at the station. The ride to the police station was surreal. Rex lay on a stretcher in the back, Doctor. Emma monitoring his vitals while Marcus sat beside him, occasionally murmuring things like, I know it hurts, or we're going to find her. At one point, Rex's heart rate spiked dramatically. Marcus grabbed his mother's hand. He's remembering something else. The man who took Lily. He came back. What? Detective James nearly swerved the car. When? Days later. Rex was so weak by then. The man came down to the basement. Rex tried to bite him, but couldn't even stand. The man said... Marcus's voice became flat, reciting, should have killed you too, but you'll die on your own soon enough. Nobody will believe a dog anyway. He said that? Detective James asked. Those exact words. Marcus nodded. Rex remembers because it didn't make sense. How could Rex tell anyone anything? Unless the man left evidence, Sarah said suddenly, something Rex could lead people to if he survived. Detective James pulled into the police station, already barking orders into his radio. I want a full forensic team at the Morrison house. Focus on the basement. And I want everything we have on males connected to the family who have chemistry knowledge and access to chloroform. The police station was chaos. Officers ran between desks. Phones rang constantly. And through it all, Marcus sat quietly with Rex in a small conference room that had been hastily converted into a makeshift medical area. Dr. Emma had convinced them that moving Rex again would be dangerous. Tom arrived, his face a mix of concern and disbelief. Marcus, are you okay? Daddy, Rex needs us to listen, Marcus said simply. He's been trying to tell someone about Lily for so long, but nobody understood. Before Tom could respond, Detective James returned with a tablet. The forensic team found something, a medical ID bracelet wedged behind the basement door, engraved with the name David Chen and a diabetic alert. He showed them a photo on the tablet. David Chen, Lily's chemistry tutor. The Morrisons hired him 6 months ago to help with her advanced placement classes. He had a key to the house, knew their schedules. Where is he now? Sarah asked. That's the problem. He quit his job at the university 3 weeks ago, told people he was moving to Canada for research. But there's no record of him crossing the border. Marcus had been quiet, his hand on Rex's side. Suddenly he spoke. Rex knows that name. David. Lily called him Mr. David. She didn't like how he looked at her, made her feel icky. Detective James's jaw tightened. We've been looking at this all wrong. We assumed she ran away or was taken by a stranger, but if it was someone she knew, someone the parents trusted. His phone rang. He listened, his face growing darker. The bracelet has microscopic blood evidence, not Lily's. Probably from David when Rex tried to protect her. So Rex did fight, Doctor, Emma said, checking the dog's teeth. There are broken canines here, old damage. He bit someone hard enough to break teeth. Marcus suddenly went rigid. Rex sees something, a building, red bricks with boards on the windows. There's a number, 1847, and a sound like trains but not trains. Industrial area, Detective James said immediately. The subway maintenance yards, building 1847 would be... He pulled up a map on his tablet. Here, abandoned textile factory, scheduled for demolition next month. He was already moving, calling for backup. I need SWAT at 1847 Industrial Way. Possible kidnapping victim on site. Approach with extreme caution. We're coming, Sarah said. Absolutely not. This is police. Rex needs to come, Marcus interrupted. He can feel Lily getting weaker. Like how he got weaker in the basement. She needs to know someone's looking for her, that she's not forgotten. Detective James looked at the boy, at the dying dog who had somehow survived the impossible to get help, at the parents who were clearly out of their depth but trusting their son's impossible gift. Fine, he said, but you stay in the van. All of you, no matter what happens. The convoy of police vehicles moved through the city with silent urgency. No sirens that might alert anyone watching. Dr. Emma's van followed, Rex now stabilized enough to travel, but still critically weak. Marcus hadn't let go of him, their connection seeming to strengthen with each passing minute. She's so scared, Marcus whispered. Rex is trying to tell her we're coming, but I don't know if she can feel him like I can. The industrial district was a maze of abandoned buildings and rusted equipment. Building 1847 stood apart, its red brick facade covered in graffiti and warning signs. The windows were indeed boarded, but Detective James's team noticed something immediately. Fresh tire tracks in the mud leading to a side entrance. Stay here, Detective James ordered, but Marcus was already unbuckling his seatbelt. She's in the basement, he said with absolute certainty. Rex can smell her. She's sick, really sick. The SWAT team entered first, their movements precise and silent. Through the radio, they could hear the cleared calls. First floor clear. Second floor clear. Then, we've got a locked door to the basement. Fresh padlock. Break it, Detective James ordered. The sound of metal breaking was followed by shouts, movement, then, we have her. We have the girl. Medical needed immediately. Sarah held Marcus back as paramedics rushed past with their equipment. Long minutes passed before Detective James returned, his face grim but relieved. She's alive, he said. Dehydrated, malnourished, signs of prolonged captivity, but alive. She's been asking for her dog, keeps saying Rex's name. Can she see him? Marcus asked. Please? Rex needs to know she's okay. Detective James hesitated, then spoke into his radio. After a moment, he nodded. They're bringing her up. She's conscious but weak. You can have 1 minute. They moved Rex's stretcher to where the paramedics would pass. The German shepherd, who had been barely conscious, suddenly became alert, his nose twitching, a whine building in his throat. Then they saw her, a small form on a gurney, blonde hair matted and dirty, thin beyond belief, but her eyes were open. When she saw Rex, those eyes filled with tears. Rexy? Her voice was barely a whisper. My Rexy? Rex's tail wagged with more energy than should have been possible. He tried to stand, managed to lift his head. Lily reached out a trembling hand, and her fingers found his fur. I knew you'd find me, she whispered. I told Mr. David you would. That's why he got so mad. We need to get her to the hospital, a paramedic said gently, but Lily wouldn't let go of Rex. He saved me, she said, looking at the adults. Even when I couldn't save him, he found help. Marcus stepped forward. He never stopped trying. He loves you so much, it kept him alive when nothing else could. Lily looked at the strange boy, and something passed between them, an understanding that needed no words. You heard him? She said. It wasn't a question. Marcus nodded. He's been trying to tell everyone about you. I just knew how to listen. As the paramedics prepared to transport Lily, she made them promise Rex would be cared for. He's my best friend, she said. He protected me even when he couldn't protect himself. Detective James's radio crackled with updates. David Chen had been spotted trying to board a bus to Mexico. He was in custody within the hour, the chemistry equipment in his apartment, and traces of chloroform confirming what Rex had tried to tell them. Back at the veterinary clinic, the story took another turn. As Dr. Emma worked to stabilize Rex after the emotional reunion, she discovered something on his collar. A tiny USB drive wrapped in plastic, hidden beneath the leather. What is that? Sarah asked. Dr. Emma carefully extracted it, handing it to Detective James, who had followed them back. He plugged it into his laptop, his face paling as he read. It's from David Chen, he said. A confession of sorts. He knew Rex might survive, might lead someone back. He was paranoid, thought the dog would somehow tell on him. So he wrote everything down, planning to retrieve it later and destroy it. The confession detailed everything. How he'd become obsessed with Lily, how he'd planned the kidnapping for months, how he'd kept her in various locations before settling on the abandoned building. He'd gone back to the Morrison house to get Rex, planning to kill him, but found the dog already near death and decided to let him suffer. He never counted on Rex escaping, Detective James said, or on Frank finding him, and he certainly never counted on Marcus. Tom, who had been silent through most of the ordeal, finally spoke. How is this possible? How can our son communicate with animals? Dr. Emma, still working on Rex, offered a theory. There's growing research on interspecies communication, electromagnetic fields that we are only beginning to understand. Some people are more sensitive to these fields, children especially, before society teaches them it's impossible. But Marcus is extraordinary even by those standards, she continued. The specificity, the accuracy, it's unprecedented. Marcus, exhausted now, had curled up beside Rex's recovery kennel. He says thank you, the boy murmured sleepily. For believing him. For believing me. Sarah stroked her son's hair. What happens now? Detective James closed his laptop. Now, we build a case that will put David Chen away for life. Lily's testimony, the physical evidence, and... He looked at Marcus. The unexplained help that led us to her. Will Rex be okay? Marcus asked, fighting to keep his eyes open. Dr. Emma checked the monitors. His vitals are stabilizing. The surgery for his leg will have to wait until he's stronger, but I think he's going to make it. He has something to live for now. Two somethings, Marcus corrected. Lily and our family. Rex says he wants to protect both. Tom and Sarah exchanged glances. They hadn't discussed keeping Rex, but looking at their son, at the dog who had survived the impossible, the decision was already made. The next few days blurred together. The story hit the news. Miracle Dog leads police to missing girl. Though the full truth of Marcus's involvement was kept quiet at his parents' request. Donations poured in for Rex's medical care, far exceeding what was needed. The Morrison family, overwhelmed with gratitude, insisted on covering all expenses, and then some. Lily spent a week in the hospital, her parents never leaving her side. She asked about Rex constantly, and when she was strong enough, they arranged a video call. Marcus held the tablet for Rex, and though everyone said it was impossible, the dog's tail wagged and he licked the screen when Lily appeared. She wants to share custody, Mrs. Morrison told Sarah during one of their many phone calls. When Rex is healed, when Lily is better, she wants to make sure Marcus can still see him. She says Marcus is the only one who understands what Rex says. It was an unusual arrangement, but nothing about the situation was usual. Dr. Emma volunteered to oversee Rex's recovery, waiving most of her fees. This case will make my career, she admitted. But more than that, Rex deserves the best care possible. Frank Garrison was charged with animal cruelty and neglect. Under questioning, he admitted to finding Rex nearly dead and using him for labor, beating him when he was too weak to pull the cart properly. He claimed he didn't know about the connection to Lily Morrison, though few believed him. David Chen's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming, and Lily, though young, was a powerful witness. She testified via video link, Rex beside her, Marcus holding the dog's paw. When the prosecutor asked how she survived the ordeal, Lily's answer was simple. "I knew Rex would find help. He promised he would, and Rex never breaks promises." The prosecutor, confused, asked how a dog could make promises. Lily looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "Dogs talk different than people," she explained. "But if you listen with your heart instead of your ears, you can hear them." The jury, moved by the testimony and the undeniable evidence, convicted Chen on all counts. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. As Rex recovered, his bond with both children grew stronger. Marcus would spend hours at the clinic, helping with physical therapy, somehow knowing exactly when Rex was in pain or needed rest. Lily, once released from the hospital, joined them, the three forming an inseparable trio. "He's different now," Lily told Marcus one day, as they watched Rex attempt his first real walk on his healing leg. "Sadder, but stronger." "He says the same about you," Marcus replied. Dr. Emma documented everything, planning a research paper on the human-animal bond. But some things, she realized, couldn't be captured in scientific terms. The way Rex would alert to Marcus's emotions from across the room. The way both children seemed to understand not just Rex, but other animals brought to the clinic. The way Rex's recovery accelerated whenever both children were present. 3 months after the rescue, Rex was finally strong enough for surgery on his leg. The operation was successful, though he would always have a slight limp, a permanent reminder of his ordeal. The first time he walked without pain, his joy was infectious. He actually ran, between Marcus and Lily, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. "He says he's whole again," Marcus laughed, falling to the ground as Rex bowled him over with kisses. "Not perfect, but whole." The arrangement they worked out was unusual, but effective. Rex spent weekdays with Marcus's family, weekends with Lily. Both families had keys to each other's houses. The children had become best friends, bonded by their shared understanding of Rex and their unique ability to hear what others couldn't. Tom, the skeptic, became Rex's fiercest protector. "I still don't understand it," he admitted to Sarah one evening as they watched Marcus and Rex in the backyard, the dog finally healthy enough to play fetch. "But I can't deny what I've seen." "Maybe we don't need to understand," Sarah replied. "Maybe we just need to accept that Marcus has a gift." The gift, as it turned out, extended beyond Rex. Other families began bringing their pets to Marcus, desperate for help with behavioral issues or health problems that vets couldn't diagnose. Marcus, with his parents' careful guidance, helped when he could, always with Rex by his side. "Rex helps me understand," Marcus explained to a reporter who was doing a follow-up story 6 months later. "He knows how to translate what the other animals are saying." The reporter, skeptical but professional, asked for a demonstration. Her own cat, she said, had been acting strange for weeks. Marcus looked at a photo of the cat on her phone, then at Rex, who tilted his head as if listening to something. "Your cat is upset about the new neighbor's dog." "But also," Marcus frowned, "she's trying to tell you something about the wall in your bathroom. There's a sound she doesn't like." The reporter laughed, but called back 3 days later, shaken. A pipe in her bathroom wall had been leaking, creating a high-pitched whine only the cat could hear. If left unchecked, it would have caused massive damage. Word spread. The boy who could talk to animals. The miracle dog who saved a girl. The connection that defied explanation, but delivered results. Dr. Emma published her paper, carefully avoiding sensational claims while documenting the observable facts. The scientific community was divided, some dismissive, others intrigued, but for the families whose pets Marcus had helped, there was no question. A year after the rescue, they held a celebration at the park. Rex, now fully recovered save for his slight limp, played with a dozen other dogs, all rescues that Marcus had helped place in homes. Lily had started volunteering at the animal shelter, using her own understanding to help match dogs with families. Marcus continued his work, though his parents were careful to protect him from exploitation. "Do you ever wonder?" Sarah asked Dr. Emma as they watched the children play. "What would have happened if Marcus hadn't been at the market that day?" Dr. Emma shook her head. I try not to think about it. Rex would have died. Lily might never have been found. David Chen would be free. She paused. It's like everything aligned perfectly. Frank bringing Rex to the market, Marcus being there, you having the patience to listen to your son's impossible claims. Not impossible, Marcus said, appearing beside them with his uncanny ability to show up when people were talking about him. Just different. Rex says humans used to understand animals better before we forgot how to listen. And what else does Rex say? Tom asked, ruffling his son's hair. Marcus looked at Rex, who was currently trying to steal a sandwich from a picnic table, Lily laughing as she tried to stop him. He says he's happy. He says the hurt was worth it because it led him to us. And he says... Marcus paused, smiling. He says love is the only language that really matters anyway. As if in agreement, Rex abandoned his sandwich theft and trotted over, his tail wagging, his eyes bright with the intelligence that had saved a girl's life and changed a community forever. He sat between Marcus and Lily, the three of them connected by something deeper than words, stronger than science could explain. The local news ran one final story on the baby anniversary titled "The Boy, the Girl, and the Dog That Brought Them Together." But for Marcus, Lily, and Rex, it was just another day of understanding each other in a way the rest of the world was only beginning to believe possible. The story could have ended there, but life, as Marcus was learning, didn't really have endings, just new chapters. And Rex, the German shepherd who had survived the impossible, still had more to teach them about the power of connection, the strength of love, and the importance of listening to those who speak without words. The morning after the anniversary celebration, Marcus woke to Rex pawing at his bedroom door, whining with an urgency the boy had never heard before. The German shepherd's eyes were wild, his whole body trembling as Marcus opened the door. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked, immediately kneeling beside his friend. The moment his hand touched Rex's fur, images flooded his mind. Not memories this time, but something happening right now. A dark van, the sound of crying, children's voices, and pain, terrible pain from a dog Marcus didn't recognize. "Mom!" Marcus ran down the hallway, Rex close behind. "Mom, something bad is happening?" Sarah emerged from her bedroom, hair disheveled, immediately alert at the panic in her son's voice. "What is it? Is Rex okay?" "Not Rex. Other dogs, other kids." Marcus was crying now, overwhelmed by what he was seeing through Rex's mysterious connection. "There's a place. Like where they kept Lily, but worse. So much worse." Tom appeared, phone already in hand. "Should I call Detective James?" Marcus nodded frantically. "Tell him it's happening now. They're moving them today. If we don't stop them..." His voice broke off as Rex howled, a sound that made every hair on Sarah's arm stand up. Detective James arrived within 15 minutes, taking Marcus's claims seriously without hesitation. His experience with the Morrison case had taught him to trust the boy's impossible gift. "Tell me everything you're seeing," he said, pulling out his notebook. Marcus closed his eyes, one hand on Rex's head. "There's a warehouse, bigger than where Lily was. I can see cages stacked on top of each other. Dogs in some, but..." His face went pale. "There are children in others. 3, maybe 4 kids. Human trafficking," Detective James breathed, his face grim. "We've been tracking a ring for months, but couldn't find their base. Can you see anything that might tell us where?" Rex suddenly barked, running to the window that faced east. Marcus followed, pressing his palm against the glass. "Water. I can smell salt water through the dog's nose. And there's a sound like metal hitting metal, over and over." "The shipyards," Detective James said immediately. "Has to be. The sound would be the boat repairs." He was already calling for backup, rattling off codes and locations. "They're leaving soon," Marcus said urgently. "The dog I'm seeing through, she's in so much pain. They hurt her to make her mean, but she's trying to protect the little ones. She knows something bad is about to happen." Lily arrived with her parents just as the police were preparing to leave. She'd felt it too, she said, Rex's distress calling to her across the miles. "I'm coming," she announced, her chin raised in determination. "Absolutely not," her mother said, but Lily's eyes were fierce. "I survived 2 months in a basement. I can help those kids understand they're going to be okay. They need to see someone who made it out." The adults exchanged glances. It was dangerous, but Lily had a point. Traumatized children might respond better to another child than to police officers. She stays in the van, Detective James said finally, with Marcus and Rex. They might be able to give us real-time information we need. The convoy moved through the early morning streets, Rex growing more agitated with each mile. Marcus kept up a steady stream of information. The dog can see a man with a spider tattoo on his neck. He's the mean one. There's a woman too. She brings food sometimes, but never makes eye contact. The kids call her the Ghost Lady. Detective James relayed everything to his team. They were building a picture of the operation, one that matched intelligence they'd gathered but could never confirm. The shipyard sprawled before them, a maze of warehouses and abandoned buildings. Rex began barking before they even stopped, his nose pointing toward a structure at the far end. It looked empty from the outside, windows painted black, no vehicles visible. "That's it," Marcus said with certainty. "The dog is in there. Her name is..." He paused, listening. She doesn't remember her name. They just call her Fighter. But she remembers being called something soft once, when she was small. The SWAT team surrounded the building, while Detective James coordinated from the command van. Marcus, Lily, and Rex waited inside, the children holding hands as they felt the terror of those trapped inside. "There's a little boy," Lily whispered, "maybe 3 years old. He's so scared he won't even cry anymore." "Fighter is trying to comfort him," Marcus added. "She puts her paw through the cage bars so he can hold it." The radio crackled, breaching in 3, 2, 1. The sound of splintering wood and shouting voices filled the air. Through Rex's mysterious network, Marcus could feel the confusion and fear spike in the warehouse. Fighter was barking, throwing herself against her cage, trying to protect the children, even though she couldn't reach them. "Northwest corner!" Marcus suddenly shouted into the radio Detective James had given him. "There's a hidden room behind the filing cabinets." "That's where the kids are." Detective James relayed the information immediately. They heard confirmation moments later. 4 children found, all alive, along with 7 dogs in various states of abuse. But the celebration was short-lived. "The Ghost Lady ran," came a voice over the radio. "She had a van ready at the back entrance. Spider Tattoo is in custody, but she got away." Marcus grabbed Rex's fur tighter. Through Fighter's eyes, he could see something the police couldn't. The Ghost Lady hadn't run far. "She's coming back," he said urgently. "She left something important, something in a blue bag under the cages." "All units, suspect returning to scene," Detective James barked into his radio. "Watch for..." The explosion wasn't large, but it was enough. The Ghost Lady had triggered something, not to destroy evidence, but to create chaos. Smoke poured from the warehouse. Officers scrambled. In the confusion, she slipped back inside. "She's going for the bag," Marcus said, his eyes squeezed shut in concentration. "Fighter can see her. She's... Oh no, she has a gun." "Where?" Detective James demanded. "Second floor, moving toward the south stairs. She's going to..." Marcus gasped. "Fighter got loose. Someone opened her cage to evacuate the dogs, and she's going after the Ghost Lady." Through the radio, they could hear the chaos. Officers shouting, dogs barking, children crying. Then, a woman's scream and the sound of growling. "Fighter has her," Marcus reported, a small smile crossing his face. "She knocked the gun away. She's holding her down, even though it hurts so much to move." When the smoke cleared, they found the Ghost Lady pinned beneath a scarred pit bull mix, the dog's teeth gripping her jacket sleeve with determination, despite her obvious malnutrition and injuries. The blue bag she'd risked everything to retrieve contained ledgers, detailed records of every child and animal they'd trafficked, including buyers' information. "It's the whole network," Detective James said in amazement. "This will lead us to dozens of criminals across 3 states." The rescued children were brought out slowly, paramedics checking each one. The youngest, the 3-year-old boy Lily had sensed, wouldn't let go of a stuffed animal that Fighter had somehow dragged into his cage. The dog, despite her own critical condition, tried to follow him to the ambulance. "Let her go with him," Marcus called out. "She's his protector. She needs to know he's safe." Dr. Emma had arrived with her mobile unit, immediately taking charge of the rescued dogs. Fighter was the worst. Broken ribs, infected wounds, severe malnutrition. But her eyes followed the little boy's ambulance until it disappeared. "Can you help her?" Lily asked, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Emma's expression was grim. "I'll do everything I can." but she's been through so much." Marcus knelt beside Fighter's stretcher. The dog looked at him with eyes that held too much pain for any creature to bear. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved them all." Fighter's tail moved slightly, not quite a wag, just an acknowledgement. Through Rex, Marcus could feel her thoughts. The little boy was safe. That was all that mattered. The following days were a whirlwind. The traffickers' network unraveled rapidly thanks to the ghost lady's meticulous records. 37 children were recovered from various locations. Dozens of animals were rescued from fighting rings and puppy mills connected to the operation. Fighter underwent emergency surgery at Dr. Emma's clinic. The little boy she'd protected, whose name was Ethan, was reunited with his family who'd been searching for him for 6 months. But he wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep, kept asking for the doggy who kept the monsters away. His parents, desperate, brought him to the clinic. The moment Ethan saw Fighter, still weak and bandaged but alert, he ran to her. The dog, who hadn't eaten since the rescue, immediately took the piece of chicken the boy offered. She was starving herself, Emma realized. She wouldn't eat until she knew he was okay. Marcus translated what Fighter was feeling. She says he gave her his food in the cage. When the bad people forgot to feed them, Ethan would break his sandwich in half. She has to take care of him now. It's her job. The reunion made the news, adding to the growing legend of Marcus and his ability. But fame brought problems. Letters poured in from around the country. Desperate parents with missing children, animal shelters with traumatized dogs, police departments with cold cases. "We can't help everyone," Sarah said one evening, overwhelmed by the stack of mail. "But we have to try," Marcus insisted, Rex beside him as always. "Rex says there are others like me, kids who can hear but don't understand what they're hearing. We need to find them." It was Lily who had the idea. "What if we started a program? Train kids who have the gift, teach them how to listen properly." Tom, ever practical, saw the liability issues immediately. But Dr. Emma was intrigued. "There's actually grant money available for animal-assisted therapy research. If we could document this, create a methodology." And so, the Haven Project was born. Using the reward money from the Morrison case and donations that poured in after the trafficking ring bust, they purchased an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. It would be a place where gifted children could learn to understand their abilities, where rescued animals could heal, where the impossible connection between species could be studied and nurtured. The first student arrived 3 weeks later, a 7-year-old girl named Maya, whose parents were at their wits' end. She kept insisting their neighbor was herding cats, but there was no evidence. Within an hour of meeting Rex, with Marcus translating, Maya was able to explain that she could hear the cats crying from inside the neighbor's soundproof garage. The police investigated and found an illegal testing laboratory. 17 cats were rescued, all alive, thanks to Maya's persistence and Marcus's guidance. Word spread quickly through informal networks. Parents of different children, veterinarians who'd seen unexplainable connections, police officers who'd witnessed impossible insights. Soon the Haven Project had a waiting list. But not everyone was pleased. A group calling themselves Rational Response began protesting outside the farmhouse, claiming Marcus and the other children were frauds, that the police were being fooled by coincidences and confirmation bias. The leader, a man named Richard Graves, was particularly vocal. "These people are exploiting traumatized children and animals for fame and profit," he declared on local news. "It's a disgrace that law enforcement is wasting resources on psychic nonsense." The criticism hurt, especially when some families withdrew their children from the program. But then something unexpected happened. Richard Graves' own dog, a golden retriever named Buddy, went missing during a family camping trip. After 3 days of searching, Graves swallowed his pride and came to Haven. Marcus was kind despite the man's previous attacks. He sat with Rex, looking at a photo of Buddy, and within minutes had information. Buddy fell into an old mine shaft. He's hurt but alive. He can hear the highway, and there's a tree that was struck by lightning nearby. Graves was skeptical, but desperate. Following Marcus's directions, search teams found Buddy exactly where described, injured but recoverable. The dog had been barking for days, but the shaft had muffled the sound. Standing in the Haven farmhouse, his dog in his arms, Richard Graves broke down crying. "I'm sorry," he said. "I was so sure I understood how the world worked. I couldn't accept that there might be more." "There's always more," Marcus said simply. We just have to be willing to listen. Graves became one of Haven's biggest supporters, using his platform to defend the program and document its successes. His conversion convinced many skeptics to at least consider the possibility that something real was happening. 6 months into the Haven project, they had 12 regular students, all children who showed varying degrees of animal communication ability. Some, like Maya, could sense emotions. Others could interpret behavior in ways that seemed impossible. But none were as strong as Marcus, and none had Rex's ability to amplify and translate. "Rex is special, Doctor," Emma explained during one of her research sessions. "He's like a bridge between worlds. His trauma, his survival, his connection to both Marcus and Lily, it's created something unique." The research was fascinating but challenging. How do you measure something that science doesn't have instruments for? Dr. Emma focused on observable outcomes. The rescued animals, the found children, the solved cases. The evidence was overwhelming, even if the mechanism remained a mystery. One autumn morning, a year after the trafficking ring bust, Marcus woke to find Rex standing at his window, staring intently at something outside. But when Marcus looked, there was nothing there, just the empty field behind their house. "What do you see, boy?" Marcus asked, his hand on Rex's back. The images that came were different from usual. Not current events or memories, but something else. Marcus saw himself, older, maybe a teenager, standing in front of a building he didn't recognize. There were other kids with him, lots of them, all with animals by their sides. A sign read, "International Institute for Interspecies Communication." "Is that the future?" Marcus whispered. Rex's tail wagged, but there was something sad in his eyes too. Over the following weeks, Rex began showing signs of age that his trauma had accelerated. His muzzle grayed seemingly overnight. He moved more slowly, spent more time sleeping. Dr. Emma ran tests, but there was nothing specifically wrong, just a body that had endured too much finally beginning to wear down. "He's not sick," she assured the families, "but the stress of his early experiences, the intensity of his gift, it's taken a toll." Marcus understood what Rex wasn't saying directly. The German Shepherd had held on through impossible circumstances to save Lily, then continued beyond that to help save others. But every bridge between worlds, no matter how strong, eventually grows tired. They made sure Rex's remaining time was filled with joy. Lily spent every possible moment with him. The Haven students brought their animals to visit. Fighter, now healthy and officially adopted by Ethan's family, came by weekly, the two dogs lying together in the sun, content in each other's company. It was during this time that Marcus made a discovery that would change everything. Working with a new student, a boy named Alex, who could apparently predict weather changes through bird behavior, Marcus realized something crucial. "It's not just about hearing the animals," he explained to Dr. Emma. "It's about the connection between all living things. Rex showed me that. We're all part of the same web, sending out signals all the time. Some of us just learned how to tune in." This revelation led to a breakthrough in the Haven methodology. Instead of focusing solely on human-animal communication, they began exploring the broader connections. How trees might communicate through underground networks, how weather patterns could be felt by sensitive individuals, how emotional states could ripple through communities. The implications were staggering. If Marcus was right, if these connections were real and measurable, it could revolutionize not just animal welfare and missing persons cases, but our entire understanding of consciousness and communication. Research institutions began reaching out. Universities offered grants. The Haven Project, which had started in an old farmhouse with one boy and his dog, was becoming something much larger. But success brought new challenges. A corporation called Nexus Technologies approached them with an offer. Millions of dollars in funding in exchange for exclusive rights to study and potentially replicate the children's abilities. Think of the applications. Their representative, a smooth-talking woman named Victoria Cross, explained. Military reconnaissance, search and rescue, agricultural optimization. These children could change the world. They already are changing the world, Sarah replied coolly, one rescue at a time. The families met to discuss the offer. The money could help so many more children and animals, but something felt wrong about turning the gift into a commodity. It was Rex who provided the answer. That night, He led Marcus to the barn where they kept the rescued animals waiting for adoption. One by one, he stopped at each cage, and Marcus understood. "He says the gift isn't ours to sell," Marcus explained to the gathered families. "It belongs to everyone, every child who hears things others don't, every animal trying to communicate, every connection waiting to be understood. If we let them turn it into a product, it stops being a gift." They declined Nexus's offer. Victoria Cross smiled coldly and said they'd regret it. Within a week, they understood what she meant. Suddenly, Haven faced regulatory challenges. Health inspectors found violations that hadn't existed before. Their non-profit status was questioned. Anonymous complaints flooded child services about the dangerous delusions being encouraged. "They're trying to shut us down," Detective James warned. He'd been investigating Nexus and discovered troubling connections. "They've done this before. If they can't buy something, they destroy it." But they hadn't counted on the community Haven had built. Families whose children had been found through Marcus's gift. Animal rescue organizations that had witnessed impossible communications. Police departments that had solved cold cases. They all rallied to Haven's defense. The story went national. David versus Goliath. Small town program. Fights corporate takeover. Donations poured in. Lawyers volunteered their services. Investigators uncovered Nexus's questionable practices and other acquisitions. In the midst of the legal battle, Rex's health declined sharply. He stopped eating, spending most of his time lying in the sun, watching the children work with their animals. Marcus rarely left his side, their communication now so deep it needed no visible signs. "He says he's not sad," Marcus told Lily one afternoon as they sat with Rex between them. "He says he did what he came here to do. He saved you, helped save all those others, and taught us how to listen. He says the gift will keep growing even when he's gone." Lily was crying too hard to speak, but she understood. Rex had been the catalyst, the proof that impossible things were possible, but the gift had always been bigger than just one dog. That night, Rex visited Marcus in a dream, not through their usual connection, but something deeper. They were in a field full of light, and Rex was young again, healthy and strong. "This is goodbye, isn't it?" Marcus asked. Rex pressed his head against the boy's chest, and Marcus understood. Everything at once, how the connections between all living things stretch back to the beginning of time, how every act of love strengthened the web, how the gift would continue growing and spreading until the whole world remembered how to listen. When Marcus woke, Rex was still breathing, but barely. The family gathered, Lily's family too, and Doctor. Emma, even Fighter, was brought over, lying protectively beside her old friend. "Tell him we love him," Sarah whispered. "He knows," Marcus said. "He says he loves us too, all of us. And he says—" Marcus paused, listening to something only he could hear. "He says to keep the door open. There are others coming who need to find their way home." Rex passed peacefully just as the sun rose, surrounded by everyone who loved him. The grief was overwhelming, but so was the gratitude. This one dog, who had suffered so much, had changed hundreds of lives and opened a door to possibilities humanity was only beginning to understand. The funeral was held at Haven, with hundreds attending. Detective James spoke about the cases Rex had helped solve. Dr. Emma presented her research, showing the measurable impact of the human-animal connection Rex had demonstrated. Lily read a poem she'd written about the dog who saved her life. Marcus said simply, "Rex taught us that love is the only language that really matters. He wants us to keep teaching others." In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. The children in the Haven program reported that their abilities had suddenly strengthened. It was as if Rex's passing had somehow amplified the gift he'd helped them discover. Maya could now not only sense animal emotions, but occasionally see through their eyes. Alex's weather predictions became startlingly accurate. A new student, a 4-year-old named Bella, began demonstrating the ability to sense illness in animals before symptoms appeared. "It's like Rex left us a final gift, Doctor," Emma marveled, documenting the changes. His death somehow strengthened the connections he helped create. The legal battle with Nexus intensified, but public opinion had shifted decisively. When Victoria Cross tried to claim the children were being exploited, families lined up to testify about how Haven had changed their lives. When she suggested the abilities were fraudulent, police departments provided case files of crimes solved through the program. The turning point came when Bella, the 4-year-old, sensed something wrong during a court hearing. She tugged on Marcus's sleeve and whispered that the man in the suit was sick, really sick, but didn't know it. Marcus, trusting her gift, quietly informed the court bailiff. The man, Nexus's lead attorney, collapsed from a heart attack minutes later. The quick medical response, triggered by Bella's warning, saved his life. As he was wheeled out on a stretcher, he grabbed Marcus's hand and whispered, "How did she know?" "She listened," Marcus said simply, "just like Rex taught us." The attorney withdrew from the case the next day, eventually testifying that Nexus had instructed him to destroy Haven by any means necessary. The corporation faced federal investigation, and their attack on Haven crumbled. With the threat resolved, Haven could focus on its true mission. They expanded, purchasing the adjacent property to create a proper campus. Universities partnered with them for research. Animal welfare organizations sent their most traumatized rescues for rehabilitation. But the most important development was the discovery of more gifted children around the world. A girl in Japan who could predict earthquakes through animal behavior. A boy in Kenya who helped rangers track poachers by understanding elephant communications. Twins in Brazil who worked with dolphins to locate drowning victims. "Rex was right," Marcus said during a video call connecting gifted children across continents. "The door is open now. We just have to keep it that way." The Haven method, as it came to be known, spread globally. Not everyone had the gift to the degree Marcus and the others did, but everyone could learn to listen better, to pay attention to the connections that had always existed but been ignored. Crime rates dropped in areas where the program was implemented. Animals often sensed danger before humans and could warn those who knew how to listen. Lost children were found more quickly. Animal abuse cases were discovered and prevented. But perhaps the most profound change was in how people began to see their relationship with the natural world. The old hierarchy of humans above animals began to dissolve, replaced by an understanding of interconnection and mutual respect. Marcus, now 11, stood before the United Nations with Lily beside him. They had been invited to speak about the Haven Project and its global impact. In the audience sat hundreds of diplomats, scientists, and journalists. But Marcus focused on the therapy dogs scattered throughout the room, sensing the emotional temperature of the space through them. "5 years ago, I heard a dog crying at a market," Marcus began. "Everyone else heard nothing, or chose to hear nothing. But Rex was calling for help, and somehow I could hear him. That moment changed everything, not just for me and Rex and Lily, but for thousands of people and animals around the world." He paused, feeling the attention of every person and animal in the room. "We call it a gift, this ability to hear what others can't. But really, it's just remembering something we forgot, that we're all connected, all part of the same living system. Every animal has a voice. Every connection matters. Every act of listening can save a life." Lily took over, her voice strong despite her young age. "Rex survived 2 months of starvation and abuse to save me. He endured the impossible because love is stronger than suffering. That's what he taught us, that the bonds between us, all of us, are the most powerful force in the world." The presentation continued with videos of Haven students working with animals, testimonies from families reunited through the program, data showing the measurable impact on crime prevention and animal welfare. But the most powerful moment came at the end. Marcus pulled out a worn collar, Rex's collar, which he'd kept since the dog's passing. Rex isn't with us anymore, not physically, but his legacy lives on in every child who discovers they can hear more than others realize. In every animal that finds its voice heard, in every connection that bridges the gap between species. He looked directly at the camera, broadcasting to millions worldwide. If you've ever felt like you understood your pet in ways you couldn't explain, if you've ever sensed something others couldn't, if you've ever believed that the bonds between living things run deeper than science currently understands, you're not crazy. You're not alone. You're part of something Rex died believing in. A world where every voice matters, where listening can save lives, where love truly is the only language that matters. The standing ovation lasted 10 minutes, but more importantly, applications to Haven programs worldwide increased by 400% overnight. Parents stopped dismissing their children's imaginary connections with animals. Scientists began serious research into interspecies communication. Police departments created units specifically for working with gifted individuals. A year later, at the opening of the International Institute for Interspecies Communication, the building Marcus had seen in Rex's final vision, thousands gathered to celebrate. The main hall was named after Rex, with a statue depicting him as Marcus first saw him, injured but unbroken, calling for help that only a special child could hear. Fighter was there, now a certified therapy dog working with traumatized children. She and Ethan demonstrated how their bond had evolved. He could anticipate her needs, she could sense his emotional states. Together, they helped other trauma survivors find their voices. Maya had developed her gift to the point where she could help veterinarians diagnose illnesses animals couldn't communicate. Alex's weather predictions, informed by bird behavior, had helped farmers save crops and prepare for storms. Bella, the youngest, was working with researchers to understand how her illness detection ability might be taught to others. But it was Marcus who gave the dedication speech, now 12 but wise beyond his years. "This building isn't just about the gift some of us have," he said. "It's about recognizing that communication isn't limited to words, that consciousness isn't limited to humans, that the web of life includes every living thing on this planet." He paused, his hand automatically reaching for where Rex used to stand beside him. Even now, 2 years after the dog's death, he could sometimes feel that presence, that bridge between worlds that Rex had been. Rex saved Lily by refusing to die when everything said he should. He saved dozens of other children and animals by teaching us to listen, but his greatest save was showing us that we're not separate from nature, we're part of it, and when we remember that, when we truly listen, miracles become possible. As the ceremony concluded and people toured the new facility, with its research labs, training rooms, animal rehabilitation center, and dormitories for gifted children from around the world, Marcus stood apart for a moment, looking at Rex's statue. "We did it, boy," he whispered. "We kept the door open." A warm breeze ruffled his hair, carrying the scent of dogs and sunshine, and something indefinable, like approval, like love, like a tail wagging in a place beyond physical sight. The work would continue. More children would discover their gifts. More animals would find their voices heard. More connections would be made between species that had forgotten they were family. The skeptics would always exist, but the evidence was becoming undeniable. We are all more connected than we ever imagined. That night, as Marcus lay in bed at the institute where he now lived and studied, teaching other gifted children while continuing his own education, he felt the familiar presence. Not Rex exactly, but the connection Rex had opened. To all the animals waiting to be heard, all the children discovering they could listen, all the bonds waiting to be formed. In the morning, there would be new students to train, new cases to investigate, new bridges to build between worlds. But for now, Marcus simply lay there, feeling the vast web of connection that Rex had shown him, knowing that somewhere in that web, the German shepherd who changed the world was still watching, still protecting, still teaching that love is the only language that really matters. The story of the boy who heard what others couldn't, the girl who survived the impossible, and the dog who brought them together had become legend. But for Marcus, it was simpler than that. It was about a moment in a market when he chose to listen to a cry for help that others ignored. It was about refusing to accept that impossible meant impossible. It was about understanding that every living thing has a voice. We just need to remember how to hear it. As sleep finally took him, Marcus smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new rescues, new connections, but also knowing that Rex had given them all the tools they needed: courage to trust the impossible, strength to keep fighting when everything seemed lost, and most importantly, the understanding that love, pure, simple, cross-species love, could overcome any obstacle. The Haven Project had become a global movement. The International Institute was training hundreds of gifted children. Police departments worldwide were solving cases previously thought unsolvable. Animals were being rescued from situations that would have gone unnoticed. Families were being reunited. Lives were being saved. All because a 5-year-old boy heard a German shepherd crying at a market and refused to walk away. All because a dog named Rex refused to die until he'd saved the girl he loved. All because love, as Rex always knew, is the only language that really matters. The ripples of that first rescue continued spreading, touching lives in ways no one could have predicted. Children who'd been dismissed as overly imaginative were now valued for their gifts. Animals who'd been seen as property were recognized as conscious beings with voices worth hearing. The barrier between human and animal, so long thought impermeable, was revealing itself to be nothing more than a failure of translation. Marcus thought of all the children yet to discover their gifts, all the animals waiting to be heard, all the connections yet to be made. The work Rex started would continue for generations, each new bridge between worlds strengthening the web that connected all living things. And somewhere, in whatever place brave dogs go when their work is done, Rex was watching, tail wagging, knowing that his legacy would live on in every child who learned to listen, every animal who found its voice, every impossible connection that proved love knows no boundaries. The story that began with a German shepherd tied to a moving cart had become something far greater, a testament to the power of listening, the strength of interspecies love, and the world-changing potential of a single child who refused to ignore a cry for help. This was Rex's gift to the world, the knowledge that we are never alone, that help can come from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the smallest voice, a child's whisper, a dog's whine, can echo across the world and change everything. If this incredible story touched your heart, if you believe in the power of connection between humans and animals, if you've ever felt that special bond with a pet that goes beyond words, please like this video, share it with others who need to hear this message, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing true stories that will restore your faith in the impossible. Comment below with your own experiences of unexplainable connections with animals. Have you ever known something about your pet that you couldn't explain? Has an animal ever seemed to understand you in ways that defied logic? Share your story, because as Rex taught us, every voice matters, and sometimes the most important messages come from those who speak without words. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss another incredible story of hope, love, and the miracles that happen when we simply learn to listen.